Just your take or your first impression of so our friends out in Las Vegas, the sports books, that of course take millions of Americans over the barrel for all kinds of money. It's amazing. You probably come across these people. So many people think that they have a one up on Vegas, and
Oh yeah.
those people are actually very rare. There's a few out there, but they're very rare. That's why they make billions of dollars and throw up fancy hotels like every day.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind. Be cautious. Never wager more than it's just for entertainment purposes, folks. Please keep that in mind. September 4th game against Alabama. Vegas has set that as a 17.5-point spread. How's that strike you?
I mean, you can view it. For me personally, I feel like it's around where it should be. Honestly, if it was 21 plus, like I remember we played Tallahassee one time and we were like a 21-point underdog. I think it was right after they won the Natty, going into the 2014 season. We had already had a couple of losses or whatever. So that was the last time I seen Miami with a pretty big win-loss. Even Notre Dame, I think, was probably like. I think Notre Dame was a 10-point favorite or something like that, and then we ended up shellacking them. But usually Vegas is pretty head on. I mean, they take so many different factors in, and there may not be more specific football guys as far as like X's and O's guys and gals. They're more of like understanding the teams to a certain extent. Like, yeah, they're Bama's this, they just shellac so and so. They may be, or Bama lost this, or Miami had a whole bunch of these players coming back, and they look at kind of stuff like that as opposed to who's the DC and who's the OC, and as far as what kind of scheme and what are the holes and which player could be attacked. They don't get that like into it, but they definitely understand because they wouldn't have this close of a percentage of their win and loss if they didn't really know what they were looking at.
They're numbers crunchers. So they're expert numbers crunchers. And also what they know, Wholesome One, is they know they've got a psychological read on the betting public. They know the psychology of it, and they fool a lot of people out there. I don't know how many times I've seen point spreads come out and people are like jumping all over it going, Vegas is stupid. Look at that. We're going to jump on this. And then it turns out the other way. The other thing that people need to consider is all that they generally care about, for the most part, sure, if they put out a point spread and everybody bets, let's take this Alabama-Miami game. Let's say everybody takes Alabama to cover the points. And like 80% of the people take Alabama to cover the points. Let's just say, I'm not saying that's going to happen. This is just for instance. And the exact opposite happens. Well, Vegas is going to make out big.
Right.
But generally, all they care about is that the betting is 50-50 on either side, because then they take 10 or 11% cut from that. That's all they need. If they get $100 million action on a game, and just so it's bet even, they're going to pull out their 10 or 11 million because they don't pay out fairly. They take their 10 or 11%. They just care that it's bet evenly on both sides, and they win anyway. They've got it's rigged, basically, is what the deal is. All right, so we've got a second game that Vegas has released. That's the North Carolina game that I know that you've got such fond memories of. Miami going to North Carolina here. So this game's going to be mid-October, and the way things look, it's going to be the game of the year in the ACC Coastal. I'm a bit surprised that it's not a point or two higher. North Carolina's a 3-point favorite, and the general thought, Wholesome One, is that Vegas. Now, it depends on the stadium and the particular team, but generally they give about 3 points to the home team. And so for North Carolina to be a 3-point favorite, they're basically saying that this is a pick'em game if it was a neutral site.
To be honest with you, Mark, the more I've evaluated it, I watched their spring game, I watched the Texas A&M bowl game, and the more I honestly think about it, it's like, and the bowl game is very similar to what we would have seen this year. But the spring game was even more because now a lot of those senior defensive players and big-time defensive players are out too, because a lot of their big-time offensive guys opted out of that bowl game also. And they still went toe-to-toe with arguably the second best team in the SEC, in Texas A&M. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I think that's also faith in the returning value of the players for Miami. De'Aaron King is thought to be healthy enough for the Bama game moving forward. Returning your running back, returning all your wide receivers, returning all your defensive starters, excluding Roche and Phillips. So for the most part, I think that Miami's going to have an older team, an experienced team. And I think that's what's helping us in the point differential right there. Because the other thing is they have Sam Howell, we don't. That's basically what the conversation kind of boils down to, is the fact that they have arguably the best quarterback in college ball right now, and Tar Heel Blue.